All right, dedicated to trying to make this. I've made this video like a few times, and something keeps glitching, so I keep having to redo it. Anyway, so here is. Sorry, I should show this. Here is Brazil near the West African coast, and here in this Ptolemy map is, I think, it's a label that says Insulae Fortunate. It means the fortunate islands, the islands of the blessed, and it's situated where the furthest east part of America is. And modern geographers claim that that is supposed to be the Canary Islands, or maybe some of them say Cape Verde, but generally the Canary Islands is the orthodoxy. But the Canary Islands are like right here. They're not anywhere near here. So anyway, so the islands of the blessed, which are thought to be the Canary Islands generally, were the prime meridian for Ptolemy's Geographia, and remained the prime meridian throughout, up until Columbus's time, and perhaps beyond somewhat. But I think once they tried to fit it on the Canary Islands, that screwed it up. So that's probably why they had to change it. And eventually, the British imposed the, somehow the British got the Greenwich Mean Time and the Greenwich, prime meridian as somewhat of an international prime meridian, like America had been and probably was for thousands of years. I think that Ptolemy was just bringing back the practice, whereas Eratosthenes had moved it to Alexandria, but not realizing how that would screw up his map. So Ptolemy was going back to the ancient way. And I believe it's the ancient way based on the ancient books of two ways, which describe the underworld, America, the beautiful West, Amentet Neferet, as the land where the sun rises. And so I think it's like kind of the place where it's like the international dateline and the prime meridian, because also they're just like Ptolemy's geography begins with America and then goes east from there. So does the Book of Two Ways, like the ancient 4,000-year-old coffin text, which is based on the pyramid texts. So let's see. I wanted to show, this is the oldest map of the underworld that I know of. This is from 5,500 years ago in Egypt. Tomb 100 at Hierakonpolis, Chalcolithic, Nakada 2, pre-dynastic, pre-Bronze Age. It's like a Copper Age map. The orientation of it is like that west is up. That's why this boat is oriented that way. But otherwise, it's very similar to this Ptolemaic map from. This is the same map from the 1400s, which Columbus, I'm sure, had access to, and seems to show the same little, promontory peninsula here that is shown in this ancient, Hieropolitan map. And it might be a depiction of Easter Island connected by the Nazca Ridge to South America there. But it seems like the same contours, because they're certainly showing land here. And that's one reason I think when Walt C. Mueller, who basically named America with his map, when he did so, he only the East Coast, a few little parts of the East Coast of America had been excavated at that time, but let's see. But he still had all the details that, supposedly hadn't been discovered yet. So, okay, this is not the one. But this. That's why they were able to immediately know that America was that it was basically two main continents, and B, that it was connected by a small isthmus, that it was technically land all the way across, based on, maps like this, because maps like this show it, the land on the opposite side of the Pacific, they show it as land unbroken all the way down. They don't show the other side of it, anything like that. So based on that, I think, and things like that, Walt C. Mueller was able to know that, or at least guess that the west coast of America was, was like that, was one continuous coastline, and that there was maybe an isthmus or something, but so, this shows how America looked during the Ice Age, when the coastlines were much wider. And that's, closer to how it was depicted in the Hieropolitan map. It shows, it's just like every map sort of has to warp things in certain ways. At least this one is just an actual satellite image, but so this basically proves that the Fortunate Isles are America, which was, it's already known from the fact that or it's already clear from the tradition in Greek writing of, surrounding the Isles of the Blessed, and basically using it as a synonym for the underworld and for the antipodes. So anyway, this is Ptolemy and his Geographia. Again, the eastern limit of the known world is bounded by the meridian drawn through the metropolis of the Sinai. That's interpreted universally as China. This interpretation I basically do accept, because that is more or less probably the Latin name for China, and their description of it only, only could fit China. It certainly couldn't fit what we think of as the Sinai. So, because it's saying that it's approximately 8 equinoctial hours east of the meridian drawn through Alexandria, Egypt. Whereas actually the Sinai that we think of, the modern Sinai, is just a click away. Like, it's right next to Egypt. I mean, it's part of Egypt. So it wouldn't be 8 equinoctial hours, because the 8 equinoctial hours, there's only 24 equinoctial hours on the planet. And so 8 equinoctial hours is over halfway across the Earth. The western limit is bounded by, of the quote-unquote known world, the western limit is bounded by the meridian drawn through the islands of the blessed, which is 60 and a half degrees, or 4 equinoctial hours from the meridian drawn through, or the meridian through Alexandria. It is thus 180 degrees, i.e. a semicircle, or 12 equinoctial hours from the most eastern meridian. So he's saying between China and the islands of the blessed is 12 equinoctial hours, a semicircle, which is to say it's the opposite side of the planet, like the exact opposite side, longitudinally speaking. It's halfway, because 24 hours would be back around to itself. So 12 hours is halfway around. Anyway, but the point is, there is a website for doing, I mean, basically either way, it would be America, even if the Sinai were literally the Sinai. But since the Sinai seems that it has to be China, then so here is a website where it checks like what's the opposite side of the planet, and it shows, Shanghai, basically the somewhat of the eastern side of China, basically, yeah, the eastern side of China ish. I don't know. I mean, this is just an approximation. I wouldn't know where the exact meridian would have been drawn, but like the exact opposite side of the planet is here in Argentina, and it's on a longitude which runs up, runs north through the Caribbean, and might touch the northern tip of North America, and probably goes through, probably does go through parts of North America and Greenland. So, there's only a few longitudes that go through both, run all the way through like both Americas, or, even go through both Americas at all, just because South America is so far east from where North America is. So, so this is an important point here. Anyway, it's clearly nowhere near the Canary Islands. It's not even anywhere near Cape Verde Islands. So it explains why people don't talk about this very much. It might explain why Ptolemy's Geographia is not publicly available online, and I had to go to the University of Santa Cruz to have access to it. I went to their library and they let me use their computer and get access to it as a non-student. So that's basically proof that his map gives the location of America, and that America was the prime meridian in olden times. Basically before the prime meridian that existed prior to the the modern Greenwich one was America, at least as far as the old world, as far as Afro-Eurasians were concerned. It may have been that for ancient Americans, it was the reversed, and I imagine it was the reversed for Mayans and Aztecs and whatnot. It would be handier to put their prime meridian in their underworld, which would be in Afro-Eurasia. So, because then you don't get like overlapping, everything's on the same kind of wavelength in terms of longitude. So let's see. Claudius Ptolemy developed a major mapping system using curved parallels that reduced distortion. He also collected data from many locations from Britain to the Middle East. He used a prime meridian through the Canary Islands so that all longitude values would be positive, which is nonsense because because there were probably people living in the Canary Islands at that time, so that would cut them off. So it's better to do what it really is, America, which is the other side of the planet, so that the people the map was intended for, which was the Afro-Eurasian people, would, at least their whole world would be all on the same plane or the same spectrum or whatever. So there's no reason to think that the islands of the blessed were the Canary Islands. Like even a lot of pretty mainstream geographers concede that it could be something else, some place further west, because everything points to it being something further west. He used a prime meridian through the Canary Islands so that all longitude values would be positive. While Ptolemy's system was sound, the data he used were often poor, leading to a gross overestimate by about 70% of the length of the Mediterranean. So again, this is just because of that 70% is the distance that they're chopping off between America and the Canary Islands. So they're thinking that the starting point is basically the coast of Africa, and they're wondering why the coast of Africa is so far from, Lebanon or whatever. But that's the reason, because they're using the wrong interpretation, the wrong prime meridian. And I think this is the reason that people use the wrong one. I think, well, I don't know why. Maybe there's different reasons, but I think part of it is a deliberate cover-up, just because partly for religious reasons and partly just for the, colonizers to claim that they discovered everything and invented everything, and etc. But this is pretty damning evidence that America was well known to the world, and I think probably Americans knew about Afro-Eurasia as well. This far-reaching Hellenistic geographical knowledge hidden in Ptolemy's data by Lucio Russo. The paper summarizes. So he says that specifically the work addresses the problem of explaining the origin of the systematic error in longitude in Ptolemy's Geographia and its logical relation with the reduced estimate for the dimensions of the Earth given there. The thesis is sustained that, contrary to a frequently advanced conjecture, the shrinking of the dimension of the Earth is a consequence of a scale error in longitudes, which in turn was originated by a misidentification of the islands of the blessed. The location of the islands of the blessed, according to the source of Ptolemy, is identified in the Caribbean. The analysis of a passage of Pliny provides an independent and quantitative confirmation of the proposed identification, which sheds new light on possible contact among civilizations. But like as you saw in on the Ptolemaic map, it shows the islands of the Blessed at a latitude further south than the I believe it's further south than the Caribbean. So basically he has the longitude, right? He's saying longitudinally, and he's thinking about the word island, but you know, that's the only reason I guess that everybody always rules out America, even if they do consider the Caribbean, because they think of islands. Somehow they think that it would be specified as a continent in the wording, and that would be translated in a specific way that they would understand. So yeah, this was like the prime meridian through the Middle Ages. And all right, I guess that's the main gist of it. I try to like assemble some like photos of things that I want to talk about, but then they get lost in the they get lost together. But maybe I already like basically showed them all. Just mostly focusing on this like very, very clear, like 12 equinoctial hours from, and I mean, I do accept that this is China, the Sinai, what they're calling the Sinai is referring to China, since they say it's extremely far from Egypt, and that, it is antipodal to America. So it's quite interesting. And it's quite interesting that they focus on one of the only parts of the entire planet where land is antipodal to land. So that might have factored into that. All right, so, this is antipodal map. So yeah, like here's China, here's South America. So yeah, this South America and China and this part of, Asia, one of the only places in the planet that is antipodal to land, because almost everything else is antipodal to water, except also this little stretch is antipodal to Antarctica. This little part of Iberia is antipodal to, I'm not sure what, Hawaii or something, I don't know. And then, I guess Greenland. Yeah, Greenland, of course, is antipodal to Antarctica. So, that's a good measurement. Certainly, it's nowhere near the Canary Islands, not at all. So, yeah, America was the prime meridian. That's what they took from us. But I think it's pretty awesome, the Fortunate Isles. Like, I think it's time that we unsuppress it, however that works. All right, anyway, thank you and take care.